Everything reminds him of something. And this is to remind you to pre-order Everything Reminds Me of Something today at AdamCarolla.com. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. Our church is going to get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. I love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
And Bold Brian.
Surprise.
Dave Coulier back in studio.
It's been too long.
Always great to see our friend Dave Coulier.
It's been a long time, it feels like.
Yeah.
It says May 2016.
I remember because I believe I may or may not have poached you from the morning show I was on with Mark Thompson.
Right.
And we needed you back.
So good to see you, Dave. I know lots going on with our old friend Bob Saget, who passed, God, has it been 4 months? 3 months? I don't know.
More? Sounds about right.
More. The time for me is getting screwed up as I get older, and then COVID was like adding steroids to my pre-existing condition of not being able to figure out how old anyone was or when the last time I saw him was. But
it's been about 6 months.
Jesus Christ! So I guess we should talk about that before we get into all the other ins and outs of Dave Coulier's life. Who told you of the news?
Stamos called me. I was sitting in bed reading, and Stamos called, and as soon as I saw his name, John and I just automatically kick into let's goof around and do something stupid, when we talk to each other. So I did that, and there was a pause, and John just said, Dave, Bob's gone. And I had texted Bob the day before, and the last thing I texted him was, have a great set tonight. And so we were texting back and forth, Bob and I, and we were making each other laugh with really inappropriate stuff, as we usually did. And it just was a heart punch. And I said, what happened? How can he be gone? And John didn't have all the information, but he said, after his show last night, he fell and hit his head and died. Jeez. And it was that blunt and that shocking, and I just didn't know how to process it.
Yeah, I guess when somebody dies, if anyone ever has an elderly parent and you get that call and it's your sister and it's like, okay, there's context. I know what's going on here.
You may have been subconsciously preparing.
Somebody was on the team in high school and you haven't talked to him in a lot of years, and then some friend of his calls you. You're like, there's something. But if you're texting with the perfectly healthy, lucid, funny, and he's going out to do a set, it's not like, well, right, he was going to the Amazon to go on a zip line or something where you go, oh, shit, what happened? There's like some walking out on a comedy stage, at least until 10 minutes ago, was a fairly safe endeavor.
Yeah, right.
But honestly, now, if you texted a comedian friend and said, I'm going out on stage, and then the next morning someone said he died, you'd think some maniac jumped up on stage because, Bob was fit and healthy and strong, and it just didn't make sense.
No, and it was really hard to transition from that heart punch to what do we do? Well, where do we go? How do we mourn? Are we going to all get together? Am I flying to L.A., me and my wife? Like, what do we do? And so it was just the next 24 hours of trying to process, what do we do? What do we do now?
It strikes me that all you guys get along so well.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the entire cast is strong. And so many bands don't go down that road, and so many sitcoms don't go down with the cast. Right. And my theory is this, but you guys can tell me. In any one of these ensemble situations, band or sitcom or comedy team or whatever, if everybody is good, there'll never be a problem. If
good at what they do?
No, just good, a good person,
okay.
like a decent, Bob was such a good guy, Stamos a good guy, you're a good guy. There's not going to be conflict. If there's a situation, Sex in the City or something, there'll be a cast member who's a cunt. But she doesn't know it. She thinks there's something wrong with everybody else. And then that person will break off, and then there'll be an argument, and there'll be a dispute, and a contract, and a lawsuit. But it's always that person. It doesn't really happen when everyone is good.
Yeah.
I've observed, Dave, you tell me, I've observed like the Cranston corollary, which is when you achieve success later in life, you know what I mean? You're a little more, you are who you are. You're centered, you're grounded, you get along well with those people. I imagine, you're Canadian, so you're already on the good list. But like Saget and Stamos, like they achieve success, not out of the gates, but a little bit later on.
Well, I don't want to be a Brian-esque point shitter,
Please.
but all the kids were on that show having crazy success
4
at
kids.
9.
They had already had success.
Infants, actual
They did a
infants.
Pampers ad, a regional Pampers ad that had already aired in heavy rotation. Now, Brian's right. Yeah, but everyone...
I was alluding to the friendship, and everyone's so cool, the adults and everything.
Yeah.
It's a unique situation. We really love each other, and we've been through everything a real family can go through: marriages, divorces, births, deaths, pickups, cancellations, more pickups, more cancellations, and we've been through it. We've been very supportive. There's been some really rough times, with Jodie Sweetin, what she went through, and drug abuse, and then, with Lori, what has happened in her life. And we've just really supported each other. It's a unique situation. And we still hang out, and we'll go to a restaurant, and we'll all walk in, and people go, did the cast of Full House just walk in for dinner? Like, what's going on here? I didn't think they hung out together in real life.
Week?
Yeah, right.
The Lori Laughlin thing is... the further you get from it, the more insane it kind of is.
Also.
She was incarcerated for a picture of a doctored picture on a crew team with their kid in USC. Yeah. I mean, feds showed up to her house. Like, okay, couple things. We live in a society where the guy's minding his own business at the bodega gets attacked by a thug, defends himself, and he goes
to Rikers.
He goes in, and Lori Laughlin. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
My beef is like, okay, fuck. Half the people that go to USC, had somebody fudge something, but
the other half are Brian.
Did the feds need to show up at the house? Yeah. I talk to Garagos about this all the time. It's like, you just contact her lawyer. The lawyer says, you got to meet me down at the building, and you got to turn yourself in at noon tomorrow, and you just show up.
Seems like a waste of resources.
Yes. Half the people that are being, the former Trump deputy of whatever that they're arresting at the airport, it's like they can just call you and you'll walk you'll walk yourself in. That's how they do it. They're not going to Mexico.
Yeah, if you would have asked me who's the one person from the Full House cast that you could imagine would end up being incarcerated, Lori Laughlin was last on that list.
Yes.
The last person. She's first of all, she's my best girlfriend in the entire world, and I've known her forever, and that's just not in her DNA to be evil enough to go to
That's
prison.
The thing is, it wasn't evil, right? She was trying her best to benefit her family.
Yeah, and
Granted,
people have been doing that for thousands
Yeah.
of years for their children. Like, hey, here's a few bucks, and people build entire libraries so their kids can get into Harvard,
Well, and that became the debate. It's one thing to let your kid through the side door, but you can't let him in through the back door. It's like very nuanced all of a sudden.
And the guy who was the middleman was kind of creepy and weird, and it was just like...
Well, that was his cottage industry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was weird. The whole thing. I knew nothing about that whole world until this whole thing was exposed.
I file it under my victimless crime, even though technically there was one less spot for one kid to get into USC. But
coxswain.
Yeah. So either way, I mean, boy, when you guys left the set after your last taping in 1992 or 1995.
87 to 95.
Who could have guessed all the crazy directions everyone's lives would take them? Yeah,
and certainly not Lori ending up in prison. That was not on the radar.
That wasn't on the bingo card.
At all. No, not at all. Not at all.
So I'd say that my theory is that everyone has to be a baseline good person, and then if everyone is at their base a good person, then these relationships can continue and flourish, and then if there isn't someone who can't hang with the relationship, it's usually the person who's Kim Cattralled out or whatever.
Like the body pushes out a splinter. You know what I mean? They'll be excised over time.
Right.
Yes.
My only lament is that person never knows it's them.
Yeah.
Right.
They think there's a problem with the other
Everyone's
6
against
people in the band.
Okay, I've wondered about, do you think Kim Cattrall thinks it's everyone else?
Well, she's made that fairly clear in interviews, I feel
Yeah,
like.
but
Everybody always thinks it's
That would be
everyone
At
else.
crazy.
least that it's Sarah Jessica Parker.
Isn't there a medical diagnosis called histrionic behavior?
There sure is.
Yeah, and so that person would be histrionic, and they would just think it's never me. It's always that other person's fault.
It's incurable.
And I kind of agree if it's you versus the bass player in the band. But if it's you versus the
Everyone
other 5
else.
people in the band, then maybe we should find a mirror or still body of water. Well, on another tragic and sad note,
Oh, great.
somebody tweeted me a story out of Las Vegas that Dawson has I showed Dawson.
Crazy Horse 2 strip club to be demolished by Las Vegas officials after a string of fires.
Say it ain't so.
Oh, boy.
The famed Las Vegas strip club will be demolished after it suffered a string of fires over the past month. Crazy Horse 2 will be
string of
demolished
fires?
by the city of Las Vegas after code enforcement officials were on site on Monday and Tuesday. City of Las Vegas spokesman Jace Radke said a demolition notice was issued June 30th. Quote, city staff are in the process of obtaining bids to demolish the buildings. Bids are expected to return next week. If the city ends up demolishing the property, the cost would be reimbursed to the city by the new property owner or by the property owner. Crazy Horse 2 has suffered 3 separate fires in 5 weeks.
Snake bit.
Wow.
Okay, first of all, we need Rich Banks and Mike Lynch for String of Fires.
Yes.
For Johnny Cash. Also, I just learned this phrase not very long ago, and it's horrible, even though I started laughing. I'm Jewish. Is this Jewish lightning? Jewish lightning.
Oh, is that like
lightning.
an intentional?
Yeah.
Jewish lightning.
You're not, are you not?
No.
I've
I'm
heard
sorry,
that.
are you not?
I've heard that for
You've-
years.
yeah.
I thought it was
Absolutely.
that Jewish NASCAR driver
Yeah,
from
he
the
was.
50s.
He raced
Wow,
the
Adam,
56
I'm
Olympics.
shocked.
They make that in a still, don't they? Jewish lightning.
Poor little Pruno, little Manischewitz. When you intentionally said it for the insurance money.
Oh, I thought that seems more like Italian lightning to me.
I called that.
I saw Goodfellas.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to burn this place down, okay? What once was one man's field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. It's going down. Little Jewish lightning here.
I've
Shoot you in the foot, Spider.
I've already created a job for myself, which is I'd be like, all right, they roll in the wrecking ball and the backhoes and the tractors. I'd be like, look, I'm going in. I'm going to clear out the bar, and I'm going to flush out any of the ladies that are still in there. So give me 3 days.
Want to be thorough?
I'll be out.
Every
And
nook and cranny.
I may have some equipment from the DJ booth. And then you guys come rolling in like the cavalry. But
Can you
just
imagine that dark day when the bulldozers roll up?
Hey, buddy, I've been working here along with my partner, Dutch, who's on the other mic over there. Still got the businessman's lunch coming from noon to 3, and then the wrecking ball rolls in about 3:45, so you may want to get in on that bottomless bucket of shrimp before the plaster starts coming from the ceiling. Now, we've had some issues. Dutch is a smoker. He's kind of a stress smoker. Usually takes it out to the parking lot, but after that incident with that Black Lives Matter march, Dutch is now taking to do it in the kitchen. And Dutch, I don't know if you want to do a mea culpa about the fire, but and they're smoking pretty close to the flambe pan there. Any thoughts?
It's kind of like a Dutch oven. That's what it was.
That's
When
what we
you
called
really-
the booth when after Dutch would eat Thai food. Yeah.
It was a Dutch oven.
Well, I've been here most of my adult life. If you can call it adult life, calling out fake names, playing songs from Twisted Sister, and drinking champagne on the mini bottles. But I'm sticking here to the end. And as a matter of fact, Dutch, maybe I shouldn't be saying this over the microphone, but I'm going to go ahead and chain myself to that bulldozer. I'm going full Jane Fonda, circa 1972. You can't take this down. It's an institution. Now, you want to take down Gentlemen's Club, you want to take down Crazy Horse 4 through 19, or Crazy Horse out in Lompoc, that's your business. But I'm sticking to this thing, and I'm going to chain myself to the... sorry if I'm getting emotional, but it's just some of the best times I ever had here. Remember, I didn't have no pimp hand before I came here at all. I came in here, and first thing Dutch said to me, he says, "Where's your pimp hand?" I said, "I don't even have one." He said, "Well, it's not even strong or weak. You got to go get one." So I went out to the Jeep and checked under the seat. The pimp hand wasn't there. And I'm rambling on, Dutch. I'm going to collect myself. Final thoughts, good times over here, the years, the time we did Rails off the Boston record albums, all the times you walked the strippers back out to the car and ended up getting blown in the parking lot by the dumpster.
That really was more than a feeling.
Yeah. Hold on, Jade, is she still... Jade's wearing a helmet? Jade, take that helmet off, bitch. Jesus Christ.
Dark days.
Dutch is... It's been a pretty emotional roller coaster. We've had some good times. We had some bad times. Remember when the NHL All-Star Game came to Vegas and a couple of those Canucks got a little too lit, and Dutch had to step in and give him a little high stick. I remember that well. That was Dutch at his finest. And then the time I found Dutch crying in the men's room. That was kind of Dutch at more of a lower moment in his life, you know?
A little cross-checking.
Yeah, it's been the highs, the lows. Should make sure is Kenny still working the bathroom, handing out the mints and the
He's got
the Paco Rabanne cologne,
polo and canoe.
Polo and canoe. Is he still in there?
Yeah, he's in there.
We may want to flush him out, so to speak, because Wrecking Ball's coming about 45 minutes. Now he's a guy who's he's not leaving his post until that last dollar bill goes into that ashtray.
He's still handing out certs.
Still handing out certs, old school. Loves that drop of Retsin, doesn't he?
Drop of Retsin.
Oh, man, I'm getting emotional again now, Dutch. Boy, I tell you, we've had some times here, haven't we?
Oh, and the girls were just adorable.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a word I use often, but I'll tell you, adorable. They were adorable girls.
You want to go with me and chain yourself to the bulldozer out there, Dutch?
I'm there.
I know a few guys over at TMZ. Maybe I can get us some press on this.
Great. I'll wear my Davy Crockett hat.
Wear the Crockett hat. I'll go ahead and send the text. You know, ever since that whole insurrection thing where the Chewbacca guy got loose in there, I'd say go ahead and put that, take that David Crockett hat and just go ahead and leave it in here as a memorial.
Absolutely.
All right. So see how, you know what? Why don't you grab
Getting emotional.
Why don't you grab any champagne still cold here?
Oh, yeah, under the workbench.
Yeah, okay. We'll just grab a couple of those. It's a long walk to the bulldozer.
Oh, yeah, I'm thirsty anyhow.
And scene.
Sad day.
Very
sad day.
But I think you did it justice.
Well, I don't know when it was built, or seems to me.
The house that Carolla built.
Yeah, seems to me. Any strip club stories, Dave Coulier?
I went to one in Montreal. The All-Star Game was in Montreal that year. And I went to a place called, I think it was called Chez Paris. Mm-hmm. And you had to wear a suit.
Oh.
You had to wear a suit. So a lot of the gentlemen were there with their wives having dinner. And it was very upscale, and it was totally nude. But I remember having a steak, and this woman's on stage pointed at me, and I went to cut into my steak, and I went, I don't know if I can do this. It was just, I had never experienced that before, like eating a nice dinner, and a dancer is kind of like 2 feet away from you.
They don't have, or maybe
combo.
they don't have, I've been to a couple Canadian strip clubs myself. They don't have the rules. Here we have these rules like if it's a bikini place, you can have a full bar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If it's topless, it's just beer,
juice bar,
and fortified seltzer.
No, there's some sort of panties or alcohol, one or the other choice for certain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we will serve beer and wine for topless, but if we're going full nude. Yeah. Oh, you and if you're gonna keep your top on, you can have a full bar. Like it was these weird.
You've got morals.
Strange. I have no idea how they work.
Well, that was the invention of the juice bar, right? If it was full nude, you could literally only serve like a cranger ale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking at the history, a rich history, built in 1972 under the name of Billy Joe's. Then
I remember Billy.
in 82, changed to Crazy Horse 2. And then Jenna Jameson, famous porn star Jenna Jameson, worked there in 1991.
Was there a Crazy Horse 1?
I believe there was.
There must have been a Crazy Horse 1.
This was spelled Crazy Horse also.
Yeah,
like T-O-O.
Very
Right.
clever.
Huh.
How many of the patrons think knew the difference? How many of the girls knew the difference?
Crazy Horse was an actual guy, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Isn't this kind of appropriation?
I don't think
It's an homage.
I'd never been inside a Crazy Horse or Crazy Horse 2. I don't think it had a Native American theme.
I know, but the most famous Crazy Horse is American Indian leader.
Yeah.
Is that...
A Lakota war leader.
Yeah, aren't
Yeah.
we besmirching his good name by opening a strip joint in Vegas?
They're
with
going to
his
have
name on it?
reparations now.
Or honoring.
It's going to be some reparations.
Yeah, I'd say it's an honor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of reparations, although
You
I
think
don't know
Olympic
how-
Gardens is offensive to the ancient Greeks?
Yes. Well, they wrestled in the nude, Brian. So that's a tip of the
That's a
cap.
very good point.
Last time Dave came here, he made us laugh heartily with his celebrity hand farts, and I can't remember how it went. I think we named the celeb, and you did the fart.
But with context.
I can't remember. It was just so off the cuff, and I don't know.
I seem
Well,
to
let's
remember.
just get to it.
Yeah.
Peter O'Toole.
Okay, the Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Peter O'Toole. Okay, so he's looking out. That was shot in 70 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Sir David Lean, right? So he's looking out. that beginning. That beginning, he's just looking out, and you kind of
Just
see
a
him in
vast
profile.
expanse.
Expanse. It's that beautiful Sir David Lean shot, and you just hear
Oh, just one.
one.
Just one.
One little
Didn't
pop.
expect it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And
'cause-
I know you get asked all the time, but how about a Debbie Reynolds?
I do get, it's
Do you
just
do
like
Debbie Reynolds?
every day I get asked that.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, every day.
Man, I was kidding. I didn't know.
All right, here's Debbie Reynolds. Do you want to name a film? I mean, look, do you want to get really specific here, or you just want Debbie Reynolds like is she
Fighting with
walking?
Carrie Fisher?
Is
Yeah.
she walking out of a pool? Is she?
Carrie Fisher is drinking a Coke and smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
And she's a little tired of her crashing in the bunkhouse.
Yeah.
Thinks she should. Yeah, that's Debbie.
She's just,
That's it.
it's a little loose back there.
You don't know it till you hear it.
Yeah.
You know,
that's-
you've done it
no, it's
instantly.
like she's here.
That's Debbie.
Yeah.
I feel like when you were here many years ago, there was something to do with Oprah in pantyhose, and I'd love to revisit that. Or maybe you have a
Could be
new take.
Oprah and Gail
All right.
and Spanx.
There we go. Let's up the
Gail,
ante.
Gail and Spanx.
Let's do a twist.
Oh my.
It's kind of tight because
It's
the
dead
Spanx
nuts.
are so...
Yeah,
Dead nuts on.
It's holding it in.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
holding it in. Yeah.
I'm going to try it again. I'm going to close my eyes and just do it again. And oh, yeah. That's Gail and Spanx.
Yeah.
If I didn't set it up, I would still go. That's Gail.
Yeah. If I hadn't seen you in a number of years and I just
In
came up
Spanx.
and went,
Yeah, Gail.
Gail?
Yeah,
good to see you, Dave. That's Gail,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's Gail and Spanx. Yeah.
Keeping the Hollywood legend theme going, now, maybe this is a bit of a deep pull, but Marlon Brando towards the end, like Island of Dr. Moreau, Don Juan DeMarco.
The graduate or the freshman, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Still going.
Now let's say,
That was it.
let's say Gwyneth Paltrow is doing research for a new candle, and she's like in the lab, and she's got her team around her.
Yeah.
You know, she's no chemist,
I got to stretch for this.
but
Here we go.
what would that sound like?
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's exactly
Right
what that
to the
would sound
point.
like.
Yeah.
Man, you do
A
not
little-
mince farts.
No.
Boom. They say brevity is the soul of farts.
The solo shit.
Gina, any? I know you love Dolly Parton.
well,
I mean, I don't know if
It
you're
makes
emotionally
they say,
ready for that.
They say like never meet your heroes. I'm afraid that it's going to be too overwhelming for me. Dolly Parton, after a long day, just glad handed and kissing babies and asking the little kids, "Are you my boyfriend, Kenny Rogers?" Finally back in her own
right.
trailer in her own bedroom, and the day is over.
Here she comes.
Yeah, so true.
Little Dolly fart.
You always wanted to know.
Yeah,
Now you found out.
Yeah, it's just, it's like
I have to go to therapy.
Let it just kind of wash over you, Gina.
I do.
just to have a legend like that.
Yeah.
How about Casey Kasem just before he introduces the #1 song in America? Hold on, I didn't tell you the year.
Oh, okay. All right.
The
Sorry.
year is 1970. Let's make it the year Crazy Horse 2 switched
Okay,
names. It's
that's fair.
1982.
1982, Casey Kasem. Is he wearing shorts or pants?
Geez, I don't know.
Probably pants.
Pants.
Pants?
Yeah.
He's well dressed.
Oh, yeah. Started with the first quickie
Just
and then
boom.
just
Had
kind
a
of...
tag on the
Boom,
end.
and then it's a release.
Yeah.
You got the backswing and the follow through.
Wow.
I got to challenge you. Someone who may have never farted in their life, Grace Kelly.
Oh,
In her
beautiful,
prime, in her
beautiful
prime.
princess.
I don't know if this one will surprise you or not.
Okay.
Grace Kelly. I got a little wetness on the hand here. Here we go.
Oh, no.
I wasn't prepared for that.
No, she wasn't prepared for that either.
Probably what took her off the road in Monaco. All right, now look, I know it's early, and I know you've probably been working on it, Johnny Depp, because he's been all over the news. But look, when you talk to impressionists, they'll go like, "Oh, I've been working on
Yeah.
it," but sometimes it's not fully formed
Catches
or
you off
there.
guard.
And,
This is
and look,
good.
if you just want to pass, I get it.
No, this is good.
Pass
Most
the
guys would go
gas.
Amber Heard, the whole
I think I got it. I think is this pre-Pirates or do you want to go like now, current?
in the courtroom.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go in England on stage with Jeff Beck.
Oh, recent.
Yeah.
And he put one foot up on the monitor. You know that move?
Yeah.
That's a quick
There it is.
drop.
There it
Single
is.
pop.
Shades of Peter
Single
O'Toole.
pop. Yes.
Man,
Absolutely.
all the greats.
I don't want to get political here. This is not what
Okay.
this is about. But one thing that we all took from President Trump's presidency was he loved fast food. He loved the taco salad with the big fried shell and the Diet. He had like a Diet Coke button. I got to think that adds a little gas to your abdomen on a daily basis.
Yeah, let's
oh
get a
my
little-
God.
We're getting in the
Pouring
water.
water on
We're
it.
going glycerin now.
Little mo-
He brought his own tube of water-soluble lube.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's it.
Accurate.
When I told
little greasy.
my dad I was
little
doing a
greasy back there.
podcast, this is exactly what he thinks we're doing. Strip club DJ,
Strip club
Coulier
farts.
doing celebrity
Yeah,
farts. No real hard news.
He's out there in the garage. I don't know what he's doing.
Last one. Francis McDormand.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
A lot of range.
Fargo.
Yeah, are we talking Raising Arizona?
No, keep in mind in the war. What's the one she won the
Billboards
Nomad?
of-
Nomad.
Nomadland?
Nomad.
Remember, she shit in a bucket.
Yeah.
right.
Oh.
So we have a baseline.
There's
Right.
precedent.
And she's very, no makeup, no
And I don't
frills.
know if you Foleyed that or she actually took a dump. Because Dave, you got to call into Foley.
I'm
any of the-
surprised that I don't get more Foley work.
Yeah.
When an actor bends over in a film.
Right.
Here we go.
Wow.
Wow.
Great
There
timber.
it is. There it is.
Spot on.
I had to pull that one out of my ass for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Dave, don't cheapen the experience.
I know. After that many quality farts in strip clubs, I don't know what I don't know what I was thinking there.
All right. Coulier is going to hang. It's funny. We're talking about asses. My Italian dad would always say, in the coolie. Hitting the
Yeah.
coolie.
In the coolie.
Coolie meant in the ass.
Yeah.
The butt. I think it was like Italian for
What
for
are
your ass. your
what are
butt.
coulions though? Aren't coulions balls?
Yeah, I think
Couliers.
Cooley was more East Coast. I mean, he's Philly.
yes.
Right?
In Portuguese, it's Kulu.
Kulu
Oh,
or
right.
Kulu.
That's my
Kulu.
Papa used to call me, my Kulu.
All right, we got some news coming. Dave's gonna hang first. There's Hyundai. All right, so Gina's got the news queued up. Coulier gonna hang, and we'll do the news right after this.
The Adam Carolla Show presents Dave Coulier's birthday cocktail party for September 21st. Let's see who's invited. English sci-fi author H.G. Wells. The composer of the classical piece The Planets, Gustav Holst. Let's welcome the animator and cartoonist, best known for drawing Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, Chuck Jones. The man who might be able to tell you who shot J.R., Larry Hagman. Hallelujah! Leonard Cohen is here. Newscaster Bill Curtis joined the party. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer is here. From Muscle Shoals, one of the Swampers, David Hood. One of the Eagles, Don Felder. Stephen King just walked in and scared the shit out of everyone. Let's welcome the affable Bill Murray. From Fargo and No Country for Old Men, let's welcome Ethan Cohen. Actor Rob Morrow is here. Faith Hill, Ricky Lake, Luke Wilson, Liam Gallagher, Nicole Richie, and in his first appearance since his assassination, Shinzo Abe. Dave Coulier is on the Adam Carolla Show.
Wow,
Eclectic.
stacked lineup. Live and Locals, the name of the series. New episodes every Thursday exclusively on Flix. And you can also check out Dave's Instagram at @DCoulier. I will spell it Coulier. All right, should we do a little news, Gina?
Let's do it.
Quick correction, Pure Flix. I said on Flix. Pure Flix is where you can find Live and Local. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and by the way, Dave, I want to commend you and that crew for really like honing in on what makes it like a real radio studio vibe on that show.
Thank you.
I was like kind of like, sitting there with my arms crossed going, okay, let's see. You nailed it. Your co-host is amazing.
Thanks.
The PD is amazing. You guys really, it's like you've actually worked in a radio station.
Well, I didn't want to do a caricature of a radio guy.
You didn't.
I just wanted, the guy's kind of a curmudgeon, and I just thought, he's in a really small market, but he's number one on a faith-based radio station.
But he can turn it on when the mic's hot.
Yeah. The biggest challenge for me was technically because they built us a radio station, and I had to run the board. So I had to,
You really ran the board?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the show is like 60% scripted and 40% improv. So when we have guests on, we're Zooming, an interview can go any of a million ways, as you guys know.
Yeah, it's really
so
fun.
it was, that's really, coming from you, that's really nice to hear.
It
Thank
meant
you.
a lot.
I'm surprised, or maybe you do. It seems like radio, you should have some radio background with all the voices and characters.
I do, but it's when I was 18 years old. I just graduated from high school from Notre Dame in Detroit, Michigan, and I got a job the week I graduated. And I went to a now defunct progressive rock station, WABX, and I got a job as an intern there. And I still had braces on my teeth and long hair. And I thought, man, this is the greatest job ever. I love working for free. This is great. But I got to meet some interesting people. Ted Nugent, Bob Saget, Detroit stalwarts. Royalty in Detroit. So it was a really cool job, but. For this character, I always, remember like promoting shows, and you do those old AM stations that had been around since the 40s. And there was always that one crotchety guy who's like, this coffee's terrible. There's not enough sugar in the damn world to make this coffee taste good. And you're on break, right? And then all of a sudden, you ready, Dave? Okay, my next guest is Dave Coulier. And it was like a magic trick. The guy would just turn it on.
Yeah.
And so I kind of pulled from those crotchety guys that I remembered on those old AM stations.
It's really well done, and I like the little Easter egg jokes for radio people, like but why are there 5 letters? You can't explain it. Anyway, it really, really well done.
Thank you. I really appreciate those words.
Well,
Thanks.
let's keep up with the will they, won't they Twitter Elon one life to live episode we're in. Because as expected, Twitter sued Elon Musk on Tuesday for breaking off his $44 billion agreement to purchase Twitter. Twitter asked the court.
I'm going to add to the list of things I'd like to do. I have a list of like to jump into a body of water with a knife in my mouth and go on stage and have a cape removed from me.
Be thrown out of a casino for counting cards.
I want to add to my list, I want somebody to threaten to sue me, and I reply, get in line. That's what I want to add to that list.
That's very good.
Yep.
In the complaint, Twitter said Musk apparently believes that he, unlike every other party subject to Delaware contract law, is free to change his mind, trash the company, disrupt its operations, destroy stockholder value, and walk away. And on Friday, Musk claimed he was dumping the deal because Twitter failed to deliver the information on the bot accounts that he requested. But I've been digging a little bit, and it sounds, Twitter says we've given him everything. There's even something called, I want to say the fire hose, that's like the magic key of like, here is all the encryption data, here's everything you need. And he's still claiming we haven't given him enough. Is this a cat batting around the mouse?
I don't know. There's a lot of theories about what he's trying to do. Well,
he's already driven down shareholder prices.
Yeah, all right. But so he's the living embodiment of F me money. And you don't see enough F me money. You always hear about F you money, where, someone goes, it's going to cost you more to defend this case in court than it would just to settle up. And you go, I don't care. I have principles, But he is the embodiment of what you can do if you have a cajillion dollars and it doesn't make a difference. Also, you have to think about like money to him. It's not just that he has a ton of it. It's that it fluctuates to the tune of billions of dollars. So it's like one day he wakes up and, the stock price for SpaceX is high or whatever, and all of a sudden he's worth $275 billion. And then a rocket blows up, and now he's worth $215 billion. He literally just lost $60 billion because of something on the NASDAQ or the Nikkei average. So he can throw around money. His relationship of up and down is not what ours is.
Right.
And let's say a law firm sues him. He can just buy the entire law firm.
That's right.
I'm buying you guys out. You guys want to make a profit? All right, I'm buying you.
Oh, my God. He's got to buy Crazy Horse, too. And make it into a law firm.
Law firm.
He's right.
Well, here's my question, which I don't understand. How come the richest people on the planet still don't use their money for projects? Because he had to raise the money.
That's how you stay rich.
That's how you stay rich, baby.
I guess. I wouldn't know.
You're trying to buy a house, right?
Indeed.
Using your money.
That would be foolish.
Like a fool. You should be using other people's money to buy that house.
True.
Yes.
We have an update, and Dave, we'll fill you in on this San Francisco couple that wasn't allowed to use their driveway. We have an update on that.
Yeah, there's a San Francisco couple, been living in the same house for 45 years, parking in what it essentially looked like almost would be a front yard.
Like a paved over.
Paved over would be sort of like a carport minus the roof part. And there's rules. Like if you want to... My grandparents did this a million years ago, I think. I don't know if the city made them do it or not. But you want to turn your garage into a den, the city's going to go, well, you need a carport then. You need a place to park your car because we don't want you out on the street. But update. So anyway, the city got involved, told them they could no longer park in this place that they were parked at for 45 years. Then they could have got it grandfathered in if they found a picture from 1914.
They would consider it.
They would consider it. Then they found this grainy picture taken from a biplane, but they couldn't tell, and it wasn't enough evidence that there was a car parked in the driveway in 1914.
Like literally with a buggy.
Yes.
And so they even showed a picture of their own child there in like 1974. And like, we've been using this, like, not old enough. Keep going back. So they found a buggy pulling in. Nah, we're not sure it's a buggy. So this week, the planning department reversed their decision, saying that now there's evidence showing the space has been used for a parking spot since
they didn't even. Oh, God, sorry.
since the 1950s.
They didn't even like give it up as like a goodwill gesture. They got some
They
proof
got
that
their
convinced
proof
them.
and they grandfathered them
dicks.
in. So yeah, as the refresher, they dug up all these photos. Not good enough. Not good enough. Finally, some picture from the 1950s surfaced, and they said, "Fine, you can use your own driveway."
It is, it's always
Two
funny
elderly
that
people on a steep slope.
we have this
Parking.
like society where we go. There's just not enough border patrol, and there's just not enough school teachers. The classrooms are over. There's always enough people to look up shit that has nothing to do with anything.
Plenty of bureaucrats.
Right. There's plenty of guys at the Department of Building and Safety have an endless amount of time to comb through the archival records so some elderly couple can park where they parked the day before and had been parking for 44 years.
Ample.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
never-
that's
Got a
going great.
picture of a covered wagon
That's right.
and a chariot. Look, it goes way back. There's
Yeah.
a chariot.
And there's Cookie. He's ringing a triangle. It's dinner time, boys.
Ask Dave about Cookie.
Oh, Dave. The
Yeah.
name Cookie.
The trope of the guy in the.
Why would he be called Cookie?
I don't know.
Thank you.
I was with you, Gina.
I'm with you.
I'm with
and
you.
I'm with Dave.
I was the only crazy
We're
guy. It
against
was like,
Ryan.
you're all idiots.
Is it a
Apparently, it's because
genitalia thing?
he's the cook.
Oh, or maybe he makes cookies.
Yeah, maybe
when
he
he's
makes
cooking.
cookies.
Yeah,
He
I didn't
would.
know.
He didn't know.
Cookie, I never did it. I didn't do that
Didn't
math
do the
either.
Nope.
If Cookie farted on that wagon train, Dave. Well, hold
A
on.
steady diet of beans, chili.
Squirrel.
I'll say they're on the Muir Trail, and they hit a rough patch.
Winter came early.
Yeah.
That's right. There you go.
Bounce along.
That's right. Just bouncing along.
Different
All
size
right, I don't want to have to call Stamos and be like, I got worse news. Second. Dave died doing farts in the studio. I told him one Cookie fart. He wouldn't stop.
He was
and then
fixated.
started turning red and he grabbed for his heart. And
His lung popped.
sorry.
Oh, God. All right. Let's talk about one of your favorite guests from yesteryear. Mattel is honoring her.
Minka?
Close. Paying tribute to Jane Goodall with its newest Barbie doll. The doll is modeled after the famed wildlife conservationist and primatologist, appropriately made almost entirely out of recycled plastic that would have otherwise made its way to the ocean. The new doll's release is intended to coincide with World Chimpanzee Day, which is today as you hear this.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
Oh, is that not
Adam
Chimpanzee
floated
Day?
a theory about monkeys to fucking Jane Goodall.
She wasn't in my graduating class at the Groundlings, so she didn't exactly yes and me on that one. She told me how wrong
Which
I was.
kid on the planet is going to want that?
None.
Yeah.
None.
The only thing that might sweeten the deal is it does come with a little toy chimpanzee. But yeah, that's not the outfit that little girls are trying to emulate.
Brian, I hope it has one of those drawstring voice boxes.
That's
So
right,
when you
whatever.
go, hey, Jane Goodall, Barbie doll, I have a theory about chimpanzees.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
That looks like Steve Irwin's outfit.
Yeah.
Hey, Barbie Jane Goodall, I think my dad has a lot of love for me. I really do.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
Hey, Barbie doll Jane Goodall. I don't think my stepdad is sexually attracted to me anymore.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
There you
Good.
go.
The hits keep coming.
Oh, that was so brutal.
Yeah.
I can't.
How
I wish I
embarrassing.
remember the Gio would tell us whatever the question I had for
Was
her
it
was.
a question in earnest?
I can't remember if I was fucking around
I gotta hear
or I was talking about chimps, but don't try to tell Jane Goodall her business. You know,
Something
look,
we've all learned.
you can talk cars with her all day long. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I can see that.
But don't talk chimps.
Yeah.
No.
She will correct you in a
You
New York
cannot
minute.
imagine how wrong you are.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear that when they pull that clip. Okay.
Yeah, she's still around.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's doing it. She looks just like Who is Hume Crow? Jessica Tandy.
Is there? God, she's a saint, I'm sure, but does something go wrong in the raising? Yeah, where your daughter says, "I'm living with chimpanzees." Like I'm done with human beings.
That's actually where the drop came from.
Really?
You were saying you must have hated your mother.
And she agreed, right?
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
Perfect.
Then I must have been making a joke. Okay.
She was not amused.
No, not amused. Most people who live amongst wildlife for years on end have a splendid sense of humor, I've found, but not Jane.
I bet you she's had a lot of ticks in her hair and stuff.
Oh, yeah. She's riddled with Lyme disease.
Ticks, Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm. But then again, the monkeys, the gorillas probably pull it out. Like,
they eat them.
Crotch ants.
See?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like tons of crotch ants.
You cannot imagine
you
how
sit down.
wrong you are.
You sit down on the ground, and all of a sudden you're like, man, there's a burning fire. I have crotch ants.
Is that what they're
called? Everywhere.
I like that Dave just lived out the entire crotch ant experience. So you sit on an anthill.
An anthill.
Well, now
you go to sit down in the forest, under the canopy, and you're sitting down, and there's chimps everywhere, and you sit down, and you're like, this is beautiful, and then that burning, crotch ants, and they're just everywhere.
And are there crotch ants, or are there just ants that get into your crotch?
Just ants, but if she's wearing those shorts,
yeah,
you don't have a chance with crotch ants if you're wearing that outfit.
I hate to address the obvious, but I got to hear a Jane Goodall fart. Now, keep in mind, living in the jungle decades.
Fruits, berries, nuts.
A vegetarian-based diet, maybe the occasional fallen chimpanzee.
And if you're out there, you're not getting a good wipe.
Let me put in a little sharper relief for you. She just got a crotch full of ants, and she's running for the lake. What would that sound like, Dave Coulier? And Jane,
musical.
Let's ask Jane if that would
Did that
comport
sound
with
right?
reality, or is that something?
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
First strikeout.
I missed it.
All right. Yes,
Well,
Gina.
here's a phrase that I've never heard before, and I challenge you guys to see if this sounds familiar to you. New York Jets quarterback Zach Wilson allegedly had an affair with his mom's best friend, according to his ex-girlfriend. And we have a picture of the mom, so I guess she keeps hot company. Ex-Abby Gile reportedly made the shocking claim that that's the mom in the middle right there. She's pretty cute, and the girlfriend's on the side.
Is it Topanga?
Oh, it does look like Topanga. So Abby Gile reportedly made the shocking claim after her new boyfriend and Washington Commander star Dax Milne shared a snap of them loved up on Instagram. That's when one guy called her a homie hopper, and then she got pissed. She said Wilson was sleeping with his mom's best friend. That's the real homie hopper. Are you familiar with homie hopper?
No, but I didn't know about the Jublaze 10 minutes ago either.
George Lightning, yeah.
Yeah, so
I've heard of mowing another guy's lawn, but that wouldn't be the case here.
Well, this is someone who dates and then breaks up.
It's interesting that you phrased it that way. I mean, the phrase mowing another guy's lawn, because the great Norm Macdonald once regaled us with a story of getting with his friend's lady. And I said, where was the guy, out of town? He's like, mowing the lawn.
Oh.
And I said, in a way, it's diabolical because you can just hear it, back and forth.
If you can see
running.
the shark, it's okay.
Yeah. It's when it stops that you got to dismount. But I always thought that was a pretty ballsy move by Norm,
Norm used to say the same thing to me every time, and it made me laugh every single time he'd see me. He'd walk up and he'd go, don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me. You're on a show. And it's a big show, but don't tell me, don't tell me. And your last name's Coulier. Hold on, don't tell me, don't tell me. It's a show, and you're on with some kids, and that's it. That's all I got. Your name's Coulier, right? Every time he would say the same thing to me, and it made me laugh because I know I'd seen Norm coming, and I'd go, here he goes. He said, don't tell me. As soon as he said, don't tell me, I just couldn't stop laughing.
Wasn't Norm's dalliance in the Coulee?
It was in the Coulee.
It was in the Coulee.
Yeah.
he upped the ante. Put it right up her ante. Yeah, I remember that part.
Wait, what?
Like, brazen.
What?
He was
Ruined her pail.
having his way with
Slapped it in the bucket?
Yep.
Crotch ants?
Did he ask?
Yeah. You know, I don't know what protocol is.
You gotta fill out a couple of forms in triplicate first.
We have the audio of Jane Goodall from the
sweet.
podcast from September 2011.
Wow.
Ready.
My mother supported me. It was a crazy idea. World War II was raging, and, we didn't have any money in my family, and Africa was the dark continent, and I was a girl, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
So, of course people laughed at me, but not my mother. If you really want something, you work hard, you never give up, you find a way.
Maybe she just wanted to get you out of the house, though. Maybe this was all part of a ploy just to clear you out. It was this or boarding school.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
Good call, Doc.
Awesome.
Good pull. Yeah, I was making a joke. She's a serious woman of nature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, that was 10-ish years ago, so she was just about hitting 80. So she didn't have time for your bullshit.
She's 90
She's
now?
88.
Wow.
88. Wow.
Yeah.
But how many years is that in crotch ant years? In crotch ant years.
she's 142.
142.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Thor. Now, we talked about this in the past, how finally big movie studios are kind of saying feh to the Chinese market when we used to not do that so much. We used to cater handsomely. Thor, Love and Thunder, which is the top grossing movie in the U.S., is likely to be banned from China over LGBTQ content, including suggestions that the character Valkyrie is bisexual and that the character Korg is gay. It would be the 7th Marvel film banned by Chinese authorities over this. These kind of issues.
We're
over it.
It's interesting. I saw the movie.
And
It's campy. It's whatever. It's pushing a little hard on the humor
It's
department.
extremely silly.
I heard real hardcore Marvel fans think it's too silly and are kind of pissed about it.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But that's fine, and he's always great. It's crazy. We're all kind of used to it now, but it's so diverse. Like when they go to Asgard and they collect the children of whatever, it's like the black kids and the Chinese kids and the white kids, and it's like back in the day when you had this sort of civilization that was made up of superheroes or whatever, it was pretty much one group or another group. The chick who. The queen of, I don't know where they were, Brian. I don't know they were in Asgard.
Are you talking about the Tessa Thompson character, the Valkyrie?
Yeah, they got the black chicks, the queen. She's running the show.
She's actually technically the king.
No, the
Remember,
king.
they kept referring to her as the king of Asgard.
Right. Yeah, it's very diverse now. It's
just to catch you. I don't know if you saw the previous one, Thor Ragnarok
Maybe
with Jeff
not.
Goldblum. Asgard was destroyed, and they relocated the entire planet or community some other place.
You're that nerd.
So you couldn't remake like a movie about the Three Stooges now without Larry being a woman.
No.
Larry
If
would be
did
a woman.
Lord of the Flies, it'd be 3 black kids and 3 Asian kids and 3 Hispanic kids, and it's you can kind of buy it on like a Cialis commercial where there's like the white guy driving the convertible and he's got his black friend like riding shotgun. But when you're on different planets, it bumps you a little bit when the queen's got dreads. But
I don't think the audience is going to. I don't think the audience is going to dissect it that much. Still,
now I'm setting my ways.
Well, don't forget.
Code for racist.
If I remember correctly, Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie character is not an Asgardian. She is like a great warrior and is thus named the king of Asgard.
Yes.
We get it. You're nerd.
They try to do too much in films now. There's like too much going to the future and coming back. And it's
don't
just
see
like
Doctor Strange.
Don't see Back to the Future.
They just keep, it's so expansive. Like it's hard to keep with a story.
Well, just getting back to the Chinese element real quick. Remember last year, we talked about this when China banned effeminate newscasters? That was like a thing. I'm looking at the headline right now. I remember we talked about it. China's broadcasting regulator has said it will ban effeminate aesthetics in entertainment shows and that vulgar influencers should be avoided.
Who's going to do entertainment news?
That's a very good question.
Well, when do all the older people in China die so that this doesn't happen? Mm-hmm. When is there like a clearing of a certain generation? Like right now, we've got a bunch of old white guys in Washington.
And how?
When is that change? When does that evolve in a country like communist China? Or is it just so entrenched in we're going to pass this, this ideology down to the next generation to where it's that strong?
Yeah, I mean, I think unless you have people doing it willingly, it's the government making them do it. They don't give a shit, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean, you have this dream of evolving.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you just take, I remember Reagan talking about Mr. Gorbachev, take this wall down. You know, I mean, that was in high school. And now we got another nut job over there waging war in Ukraine. Mexico's pretty much
it's the human condition.
Staying on the road it's been on. Africa, it's sad but weird.
It's an old operating system, the human condition. It's just not going to evolve. Probably it's our DNA.
Well, you kind of wonder because talked about this with people as it pertains to, let's say, the Middle East. You go stay and demand change. And then you're I feel that way about California. Like, stay and demand change, or fuck it, I'm going to Florida and save some taxes. There's a kind of, in a micro way, there was a group of people who were like, Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin and his husband, David, they're like, we bought a house in Encino. We're staying. We're going to get Larry Elder elected. We're going to fucking turn this shit show around. We're going to fix California. And then 10 minutes later, it's like, we moved to Florida. Yeah. So I think there's that. If you're in the Middle East and you can't stand the way it is, you're moving to you're moving to the United States.
But how many, every 4 years we hear that from celebrities. If their candidate doesn't win presidency, they're all moving away. But everybody's where we left them.
Yeah, I mean, that's blowhardy celebrities who somebody got voted in who they dislike. But this is people are worried about taxes and crime. And
that so many because a lot of those celebrities are really wealthy, that they cry Democrat, 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 but when they go into the voting booth, they're pulling that Republican lever. Don't you think that is the case?
I do think,
for some of them?
I certainly, because it's a
facade.
Well, look, first off, people do a kind of a bottom line finance thing. When the Democrats are talking about a wealth tax and Gavin Newsom's thinking about getting from 14% to 18%. Yeah, if you're a really wealthy person and you'd like to be accepted in the social circles, you're showing up at the Newsom rally or pulling up in your electric car to Babs's house or whatever. But yeah, when the curtain closes, you may think, I'd like to save a few ducats.
Well, you know who challenged that? Katy Perry, and she got a lot of shit because apparently she openly backed Rick Caruso.
Oh, did she?
And people are not happy about that.
But Rick Caruso is a Democrat. Oh, he says. I mean, he's under the flag of it, so you're safe. You're in on a technicality, Katie.
I guess so. Do we have time for one more? Mm-hmm. Do you want to do? You guys pick. Do you want to do tuna or French fries?
When is the election, by the way, for mayoral? Coming up.
November.
So it's in November.
It's Bass versus Rick Caruso.
So.
You got to go Caruso. Got to change it up. Anyone who's not in the system, I'm for.
Yeah.
And by the way, assholes, your argument of he's super successful. It's like, yeah, okay, good.
Great.
Good. He's rich, right? Yeah.
But
he owns a huge boat, right? Yeah. He's the guy who built the Beverly Center. Yeah. Those are all, yes. Keep going, Dick. Yeah, I'm waiting. Yes, that's what I want. Oh, versus done nothing, lifelong bureaucrat, sucking off the fucking tea to the taxpayer. That person?
Yes, them.
Yeah, okay, great. Yes, it's a wonderful argument you're making. This person's successful. Yeah. Thank you.
I saw his giant yacht in Newport. It's quite giant. It's humongous.
Is it a mega yacht?
It can only go in certain places. It can't go into bridges, obviously.
Oh yeah, like Bezos is. He wanted to get rid of that bridge. I said no, sir.
Oh, really?
Well,
And
remember he wanted to take that bridge down so his little boat could pass through.
Right. And those ships, those size boats, they draft a lot of water. Like those are like 20 feet. And they just don't dredge these canals and places, these marinas and stuff. They're not dredged that deep.
Oh,
so you got to be
see?
you either have to park offshore or you have to know exactly what you're doing when you pull into those marinas.
And you take a little dinghy in if you have to?
Yeah, exactly. They call them commuters now.
Oh, not
Those
dinghies.
little commuter boats.
Oh, wow.
That are like a 35 or a 40-foot boat. That's a launch.
Oh, that's the scene from the romantic comedy.
You cannot imagine
Oh,
how
sorry.
wrong
Apparently
you are.
I'm right about that.
It's a kind of a little bit of a Pretty Woman vibe. You know, you got the guy and the chicks, down and out, single mom. Of course, she's beautiful. She's
Sure,
Julia
of course,
Roberts
obviously.
at 26, but she's talking to her roommate. I think this may be the one. He wants me to meet him down the marina. He's got a boat. He's going to take me on his boat. And then she sees the commuter boat, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's beautiful! It's beautiful. We
Struck
could go."
gold.
And then as they start pulling up into the shadow
see her eyes?
of the yacht, that's
good.
Yeah.
Laura San Giacomo has a heart attack.
yeah. Maybe we get a sort of young J-Lo type.
Yeah.
She's a maid.
Selena Gomez.
Yeah,
Vanessa Hudgens.
yes. Mhm.
All right, we got to pitch to Brian Grazer. Okay. Let's do tuna for the last
On
story.
deck, maybe we'll call it. I don't know. Just
That's
kind of
good.
spitballing.
Wait, is there
On
like a
deck?
baseball angle or something?
Well, we don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's ambiguous.
Okay, I
Kids love it.
I love it.
Kids love ambiguity. Yes.
All right. Well, remember this story that we kind of all thought was a joke with this Subway lawsuit with the is it tuna, is it not tuna? And then they kind of threw it out and it went away. Oh, it's back. A federal judge in California has ruled that the lawsuit claiming Subway's tuna is not real may proceed.
Somewhere the sandwich shop.
Correct.
So foolish.
Yes, the lawsuit, which was filed last year in Oakland, claims the sandwich chain's tuna product, quote, partially or wholly lacks tuna as an ingredient and may contain other fish species, animal products, or miscellaneous products aside from tuna. The claims
I never can figure out first off, a lot of people hooked on Subway.
Oh, yeah.
Hooked on. I love Subway.
Jared.
People say it all the time. And in a world filled with Jersey Mike's
Jimmy
and
John's
and just corner Giamello's, the corner store we can get the footlong stuff. And the price is the same, or maybe it's 10% more at this place. It's 81 cents more for a footlong stuff. What is it? And what it is stupid people are like dogs in that they enjoy the same food. Doesn't have to be good food. It's just they love a Subway sandwich, and it's not even a good sandwich. It's a
familiar
sandwich. Subway. It's like this familiarity thing, and I'm always, and especially when I get the lobster bisque. It's like, are you fucking nuts? It comes in a tub in the back, like it's congealed mayonnaise with pieces of imitation cod. Like why? Why? I like it.
Yeah.
Like. It's the people that there are many Americans who, and I've gotten this argument with many people. I'm like, look, you got the Mrs. Butterworth. It's got the squeeze plastic container with the drip nozzle on it. It's just syrup, and then there's imitation maple flavor and stuff. Go to Trader Joe's, get a glass jar from Canada.
Yeah, Dave knows about
real
maple.
100% pure maple, and they'll go, I like this better. And it's like, you like this synthetic. That's like, I would like to fuck a pool raft over a supermodel. I like the raft better.
It looks just like her.
I nailed the cup holder. That's my move. It's like, don't you want Giselle Bundchen? Like, no, I'm used to the raft. Like, that's what it is. You grew up dumb. You got the stupid syrup. It's got imitation butter flavor in it. And you can't transition to the actual version of what it's imitating.
The thing you like, claim to
Familiarity breeds familiarity.
It's gotta be a kind of a dumb though, right?
Yeah.
Or something like
just
so. I would say most people who eat pancakes want the plastic squeeze
100%.
bottle of Mrs. Butterworth over actual maple goddamn syrup in a glass bottle.
You're 100% right. It's got to be 2/3 or 3/4.
It's fucking weird, right?
Yeah, and I don't pat myself on the back like this too often because I was a kid and I eat kid crap. But if we would go to let's some sort of pancake house, maybe it's international.
It's international.
Can't. We'll never know. But anything like that, they had the syrup on the table, the maple, the strawberry, the blueberry.
Oh, yeah.
And my parents would think, she's a kid. Put the blueberry. Put the and I would cry and I'd say, I don't want it. It tastes like medicine.
Yes.
And it just never tasted good.
Yes. And I get that everyone got the Mrs. Butterworth when they were 9, and that's fine. Probably enjoyed it. And then at some point, you start to transition into martinis, cigars,
Bitters.
steak tartare, eating pussy, like all this stuff. It was frowned upon when you were 9. Now,
I like the evolution of what you just said.
it's considered a delicacy.
Yeah.
It is a delicacy.
I'm talking about the steak tartare.
Oh, okay.
Gina.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
All right, let's wrap it up.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Oh, crotch ants.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.
Shane Gillis got added to the lineup in New York City for the show at the Stand. Mark Norman and Chris DiStefano is going to be there. That'll be this Wednesday coming up. So I think that thing's going to sell out pretty damn fast. But if it's not, you can get a few tickets maybe left. Dave Coulier.
You cannot imagine how wrong you are.
Live and local. New episodes every Thursday exclusively on Pure Flix. And we got me and Lynch, Mike Lynch, doing our annual. Whenever I launch a new book, we'll have Lynch on. We'll take questions. And we'll do that right after this. All right. Well, here we are again. Another book, another live Q&A. Mike Lynch over there at his home office, work office. Where are you?
This is the work office. This is I'm in Burlington.
And he has generously carved out some time from his busy schedule to hang with us and shepherd these questions as he's done in the past. I'm sitting here in my studio signing book plates for the many adoring fans who would like one of these sent out to them. Book is coming out on the 19th. Everything reminds me of something, and you can pre-order it now. It just helps. Mike, I'll ask for your thoughts, and then we'll launch into these questions.
Sure. Yes. I want to reiterate, it does help to pre-order. It kind of lets Amazon and other places know how big this book's going to be when it actually comes out. So we don't have what we ran into last time, which is you went on Tucker and you talked about the book, and we didn't have enough for all the adoring fans. So go out, pre-order it now so that we have plenty for everybody who's too lazy to pre-order.
And you have a slate of questions in front of you that people submitted. We'll also take some in real time as well, correct?
Absolutely. And then we can just kind of talk about the book in general. I know you like statistics, Adam, so I was looking at the word count. We actually 78,827 words of mirth for the fans right here. I have
some were connecting words like the and at, but
sure.
with a humorous twist on them.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we can dive right into questions. We can talk about the genesis of the book. We can talk about the alternative title, which we didn't end up with. You want to have a little banter first?
Yeah, let's do a little banter first.
All right. So yeah, we were talking. This book was originally called "Ask an Asshole," but we decided that maybe that might not get as much play on the terrestrial radio and the Fox News and things like that. So it is now what it is.
Yeah,
if everybody knew that.
Yeah, you always kind of, I don't know. Sometimes you put together a title, like Crank Anchors were called Prank Puppets, and That 70s Show was just called That 70s Show because they couldn't think of a title. You know, it was originally, They were going to call it like Teenage Wasteland or something. And there was a bunch of, and then after 9 months of pre-production and calling it That 70s Show, then it became That 70s Show. So it's like, I don't know, it's like getting a dog from the pound and you go, I'll call it Bowser for the first 6 months, but after that, we're going to change. But after a certain point, the dog turns into Bowser. And so you do that with a book sometimes too. But I always had this in the back of my head that everything reminds me of something because it's just something I said at some point, and not that everything sticks, but this one kind of stuck with me. And it is kind of, it describes my thought process, and it also describes sort of how we did the book. People asked questions, and then I heard the question, and then it reminded me of something, and then I spoke to it.
It's an interesting book. It's a lot different than the ones we've done in the past, where it's almost like attempting to do improv in book form, which I don't know that anyone other than you could really attempt.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah. We would, Mike would field these questions sometimes from celebrities like Judd Apatow, Ray Romano, Jay Leno, and the like. And then mostly just from folks, fans, people with questions from all over the country and all over the world. And they would just ask questions about relationships or about mechanics or about a career or something. And Mike would ask them to me while I was in one of my very long commutes in my car, and I would think about it like, what does this remind me of? Where are we going to go with this? It's not something.
Right.
Usually you write a book where you go, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about that, but we didn't really have a choice. You guys sort of set the agenda for that. So it was like a kind of experiment in literature improv, which is just not something we've seen before.
Yeah, and what we ended up doing was kind of, the questions were wide ranging, and we ended up kind of categorizing them. And actually, we can let people know what the chapters are. So there's a chapter on car questions, which we call autocorrect. There's a health and wellness chapter called "We're all going to health in a bucket, but at least I'm enjoying the ride," and I hope people get that reference. Do you get it, Adam, or do you remember where we got that from?
We're all going to health in a bucket, at least enjoying a ride. I mean, the reference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was hoping our fans would. So,
well, I think they'll get it. I'm semi-insulted that you're asking me, but it makes me wonder if there's something more further than the Grateful Dead. But
no, I just wasn't sure, because going to hell in a bucket but the enjoying the ride part, I just wanted to make sure.
That's a Grateful Dead thing. Like, I don't like the Grateful Dead. I'm not like you, getting all beaked up on poppers and downers and uppers and taking my shirt off and dancing to Fish all day instead of tending to my family. But I still get the reference.
Then we have relationship. That's our relationship questions.
That I don't get, but keep going.
That's probably...
Yeah.
Don't be a tool. Alcoa presents I Make the Call. That's our sports questions. If it doesn't fit, I must answer it. That's kind of our catch-all. Then we have deep shit, which is some philosophical questions. Pop Goes the Culture is our mass media one. Black Labs Matter. That's our pets question. Taking off the kids' gloves is about kids, and get a job and fight to keep it.
So you have some
career questions,
pre-sampled questions. And I guess basically this is going to be an extension of the process of writing this book. People submit something, and then we collaborate. And by the way, it's not Mike just sitting around waiting for me to talk. Someone would throw a thing out, and then I would start kind of ruminating, and it was sort of in a weird way like writing a song with another musician, where I was sort of had some lyric in my head, but I didn't have the hook or the melody or something, and I was kind of spitting things out, and then Mike would pick up his bass and kind of jam along, trying to find the hook or the bridge or the something, and we would eventually go somewhere. And I found I was kind of interested that some of the stuff we did, we really went to some interesting places that I didn't know I had thoughts on certain things before we started to drill down on them a little bit.
Yeah, it was. It was like the aforementioned Grateful Dead. It was kind of a jam session. It was a lot of fun to write this book. So why don't we jump into one question from one of the fans who you're signing a book plate for right now. Warren from South Woodsley, Ontario, Canada asks, as a New York Times bestseller, have you ever had a teacher reach out in amazement considering that you couldn't read under their tutelage? I look forward to adding this to my collection of your literary works.
No, the best I had was I ran into Mr. Bernal at the Ice House a year ago, maybe more, and he was talking about me being one of his students and came by in studio, I think, and sat in for a little bit and regaled us with some old stories of Adam back in the day. But no, I'll tell you, there's something I haven't really. Something I'm always kind of curious about in life is no old teacher ever comes back and says, "Hey, I'm curious," or "I'm sorry," or explain this. Nobody really does. No one does it about fucking COVID. Everything I fucking said that I was pilloried for, it turned out to be right. No one ever circles back and goes, the LA Unified School District doesn't send me a nicely worded tweet saying maybe the Ace Man was right about closing schools. Maybe we should have left them open. Nobody really goes back, and kind of has a commensurate amount of interest in things that are kind of inherently interesting. And I'm always kind of curious about that. Like Jay Leno's in the book. And Jay Leno and I are pretty good friends about now. And he kind of likes this story now. But when the first time I did The Tonight Show, I went up to him and I said, last time I saw you, I was putting stucco on your neighbor's house, and I'd come talk to you in the garage, and I was 23, and you're telling me to go to the Deli Smoker to do stand-up, and now here we are. And I'm the guest on The Tonight Show, and you're hosting The Tonight Show. And he was like, yeah, there you go. And and I was like, I never know if they don't believe you or it just doesn't strike that chord. But I would be but I've also kind of found I played 7 years of Pop Warner football spread out over the San Fernando Valley. I probably had 150 teammates over the course of those years, and we were sort of thick as thieves, and we hung together, and we went to battle together, and so on and so forth. And at some point, I became a name, and I was on TV, and people knew who I was, and all that. I've never had any of them reach out to me or try to get hold of me or ask me what was up. I mean, there's, a couple scattered friends from high school and old, high school teammates and stuff like that. But I would say that about my immediate family. They didn't really try to reach out and hang out, or it's just kind of a thing that I'm interested in, where they never, my immediate family never went like, geez, you got a bunch of cool cars. Am I going to come by and check them out? Or like something. Or it's just some guy I was on the East Valley Trojans with when I was a Mighty Mite. It was like Carolla, same guy. Holy shit. Like, hey man, what's up? I distribute roofing materials now in Sunland, but what are you up to? Like, you want to buy me a burrito? Like, it's weird how little of that there is.
Which teacher do you think would be most surprised by your success at 6 times writing a book?
Well, there was Miss Commissar, who was old, so she's probably gone now. She was the one who told me that all the girls loved me. I was like, strike one. But thought I was beaten by my parents, which I was.
Well, emotionally.
Yeah.
Maybe not physically.
Well, I was beaten down emotionally, but there was, God, I had so many horrible, horrible teachers, and I was such a crap student that I would assume all of them would be wildly surprised, because I never turned in a term paper. I would say Mr. Gregory, who famously failed me from driver's ed because I didn't turn in a term paper on seatbelts or airbags or parallel parking or something, and then failed me because of that, because I couldn't cobble together 10 pages and turn them in, would probably be most surprised that not only was I a celebrated author, but won the Toyota Celebrity Grand Prix 2 times running. So I think Mr. Gregory would lift the eyebrow the highest.
So if Mr. Gregory is still alive, someone needs to get him a copy of this book and highlight the entire first chapter, which is autocorrect, and get it to him and shove it in his face. Yes. And if he's dead, then put it on his grave.
Please.
So let's jump to one of the live questions from somebody who's streaming this right now. Dan is asking, who would you choose to remake The Man Show in 2022?
Never thought about it. I think, and pardon me, because I don't have a strong grasp of the young comedians out there. Mark Norman is a funny young comedian who's not very politically correct, so that would probably be good. Him and Andrew Schultz. I'll just pick a couple of young comedians that I think are funny and kind of buck the system.
Okay. So Cassidy in Minnesota wants to know, what's been a highlight or pinch me moment in your career?
I've probably had a couple. I usually don't, dwell on them too much. The story of Henry Winkler being a fan when I was on radio for like 10 minutes was pretty good. The one where Axl Rose saw me and said, I thought he'd look totally different, was kind of an interesting thing because Henry and Axl Rose were 2 guys that were pretty damn big stars when I was not a star. I think I was at a party. I haven't really talked about this, but I was at a party like a year and a half ago and ran into Jamie Foxx, and he kept jumping up and down, going, the one and only Adam Carolla, the one and only. But I feel like he does that with his gardener and his pool man, too. It just makes people feel good. But that was kind of a nice moment because I respect that guy's work so much. Yeah. There's weird little moments like having your name come up as a question on Jeopardy or something like that are the more quieter, stranger celebrity moments. People are guessing, or at least in my case, they probably didn't guess it was me. But, you're doing, someone guess it's you and The Masked Singer, or someone guess it's you and Jeopardy, or some version of that. Those are kind of the weirder, quieter, more interesting moments.
So maybe it's Jamie Foxx. Maybe the answer's already come up. But Shireen in Virginia wants to know if there's anyone you haven't interviewed yet that you're hoping to be able to one day.
I would like to talk to Elon Musk, and I feel like it's overdue, and it should be done. So, a lot of these people, I interviewed everybody when I was doing Loveline, for instance, but Elon Musk didn't really exist when I was doing Loveline, if you think about it. He did get featured on 60 Minutes 15 years ago or 20 years ago. I'm trying to think. There was like a Boy Genius segment on Elon Musk, I think, many years ago on 60 Minutes, but he wasn't really a thing. So I would say the 2 people that I need to talk to, and I think at some point we'll make it happen, Quentin Tarantino and Elon Musk.
Now, would you get high with Elon like Joe Rogan did?
Yes, or anything he wanted. I hope he gets me pregnant, honestly. Financially, not sexually, but.
Sure. Twins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah. He does everything twice as well as everybody else.
I know.
Okay. Karen in Dunedin, Florida, a little bit of a longer question. How much fraud do you think is in California's elections? In June, Newsom allegedly got 59% of the vote to win the primary. How much of that do you think comes from ballot drop boxes, mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, illegals voting, dead people, etc., not to mention really dumb voters? California seems to have no election integrity. In Florida, DeSantis created the Office of Election Crimes and Security, staffed it with law enforcement officers to investigate voter fraud and crime.
That's because he's a dictator. So I have a couple things about elections, and the answer is I don't really know, but I will say this. I kind of feel about elections like sort of I feel about everything else, which is there's something called Election Day, and then you just go out and you produce ID and you vote, and that's your window. We just have Election Day. And the drop boxes or the ballot harvesting and even most of the mail-in stuff, save, I don't know, a disabled person or someone who's overseas, in the French Foreign Legion or something wants to mail it in. I mean, we were talking about, there's COVID and there's disabled people and there's seniors who how many people do you know who want to vote who are prevented from voting if I said we're going to vote Tuesday between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. 5 weeks from now? Let's just say you really want to vote, but you're prevented from voting because of COVID or you don't want to leave the house or what have I just said? I got you a skybox at Dodger Stadium for when the Cubs come in town. It's going to be in 7 weeks. Do you think you'd find your way to the stadium? I bet you could. And then there's all these weird ancillary things they do this thing where it's there's long lines and they made laws in Atlanta about handing out food and water. How much food do you need to eat? You ever been waiting in line to vote and went, I could go for some spaghetti about now or fish sticks or something? Let me just say this. Isn't your food and your water kind of up to you? I went on an hour-and-a-half hike in the Santa Monica Hills yesterday. I brought water because I wanted to drink water. I didn't stop halfway up the trail and go, what the fuck? Where's the water? There is no water. It's my water. I have a container. It's usually in your car. It's just weird. And, don't get me started on ID. For the love of Christ, everyone in America, if you do not have an ID, you're no longer participating in what we call a civilization. You physically cannot participate in this country minus an ID if you're older than 16 years old. So I don't know what everything is. My feeling is have Election Day, give everyone ample notice, carve out some very small group of disabled people, but disabled people still have the handicap van pick them up and they still go shopping at Costco in a scooter. You know what I mean? What percentage of people? Now, look, if you're freaked out about COVID, fuck off. That's on you. There's something wrong with you. And by the way, anyone who's freaked out about COVID, I don't want voting. Something's wrong with your brain.
But if you think about it, all the plastic partitions and everything that we did, it's a voting booth. Yes. Voting in and of itself is a solitary activity. They don't let you stand that close to somebody anyway because you don't want to be looking over their shoulder or whatever. So it's got the social distance part of it built into it. And then, of course, there's the irony, too, that, no food online or whatever. And then you take your I voted sticker and you get free Krispy Kreme.
Right. Yeah. Carb load after you vote. No, it doesn't sound dangerous to me that trucks can't drive by and rehydrate and feed you while you're waiting in line. It's a thing. You kind of find out where the closest place to your house is, the church or the old couple with the garage they've opened up or whatever it is. It seems to take schools, many different forms. But have an ID, make it one fucking day, and that shall be that. I don't want everyone getting a mail-in ballot. And look, You can say, well, this is accurate, or how do you know there's voter fraud, or how do you know X, or how do you know Y? The answer is I don't know. The more drop boxes and the more harvesting and the more door to door getting people to vote, the bigger you open it up for fraud. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying not having a wall or a fence at the border. I'm not saying that it creates more fentanyl and more people coming across the border. I'm saying it gives you an opportunity to do that. My thing is have Tuesday. We've had it for a million years. You can vote. If you want to carve out some weird provision where, it's a national holiday and everyone gets 2 hours off of work to vote. Everyone can vote on the boss's dime. You have to come into work, but here you have a 2-hour allotment to use with how you will to vote or whatever it is. But it's one day, you show ID and you show up. Now, as far as like voter fraud goes, the biggest fraud is the news outlets. That's kind of where you can say, and I'm not the first person to say it, but if you really think about it, Trump has got his panties in a bunch and he's saying, we have more, there's mules and they dropped this and they did that in Arizona or wherever. And you can wring your hands about that, or you can try to figure out whether that happened or it didn't happen or whatever the voting machines, whatever the conspiracy theory is. What is not a conspiracy theory is Joe Biden was a doddering piece of old shit whose son is a crazed drug addict criminal who's cutting deals with the worst players on the planet, China and Ukraine and Russia, and kicking money down to you, Joe Biden. And every major news outlet said that computer was fake Russian propaganda. That's how you swing an election. You get 51 former CIA and FBI and security specialists and analysts who come out and say this computer is fake and has all the earmarks of Russian propaganda without examining anything. And then CNN, you explain this is a hoax, and that's how you swing an election. What happened to that computer, Mike? Did anything come of that? Did it turn out? Chris, check CNN and let's see if that thing was real or not. Boy, it's hard to tell these days. It's so funny because I was laughing with Drew about it. And Drew's like, how come nobody reports on the laptop and all the fucking horrible shit that's on there now? And people go, oh, they're covering for Joe Biden. Oh, they're covering for Hunter Biden. They're not covering for Hunter Biden. They're not covering for Joe Biden. They're covering for themselves.
Yes.
CNN said it was a hoax and laughable. And now CNN has 700 images and recordings and emails that completely go up against whatever they said it was, a year and a half ago. And so they're covering for themselves by not reporting it because they look like a second-rate news organization. And so does USA Today, and so do the 51 security experts, and so does the Los Angeles Times and the New York Times, MSNBC. They all aren't reporting on it now, not to cover Joe Biden, to cover them.
Right. The mass media has no reverse gear in their car. I was thinking about this with the abduction vans that were happening in Portland during the George Floyd riots. It's like, they're taking up people and they're throwing them in unmarked vans. Like, well, those people have had to have shown up by now. If they were still missing, I think we would be hearing about it.
Those border guys on horses were whipping those Haitian migrants. Yeah. Want to follow up, CNN? Because now they got the news and they've been cleared. So that should be at the top of the news hour, right? Except for it's not. It's crazy. It is it's a crazy time we're living in. But so to me, the election was more about the mainstream media protecting a guy who was completely unqualified to run a country. I think history has proven that in a short 18 months, versus stuffing ballot boxes, which could have happened as well. But the real swing of the election was Hunter's laptop and many other of those types of pieces of information that could have been shared but weren't.
So why don't we move to something a little lighter? Dresden from Santa Barbara. What do you think of the new Top Gun movie? And if you had to be one character, who would you be?
Interesting that we're talking about air battle, because wasn't Dresden bombed into oblivion in World War II? Yeah. And then why would you name your son after a German town that was firebombed famously? And anybody have a younger brother, Nagasaki and Hiroshima? What other famous bombed out World War II places can we talk about? All right, what they want to know?
Did you like the new Top Gun movie, and what character would you be?
Well, I would have to convince. Trying to think. I'd go with the plucky Latina chick. I don't know if she was a Latina chick or not, but she seemed pretty plucky and Latina to me. Had her shit together, took no gruff. Also, I feel like I may be transitioning, and was on the final bombing run there on a very fun film. So whatever,
and then
Phoenix was her handle.
You could proceed everything with as a woman of color, and get away with a lot more.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bruce from Jamestown, Tennessee. Love your Adam Carolla show logo. I wear the white cap when driving my Speedster. Were you inspired by the great Brumos Racing Team livery?
Oh, a deep cut with Brumos. So everyone kind of thinks about it as the BMW M badge and the colors of an M series car. Not the car, but the badging on a BMW M series. But there's another Bavarian car company called Porsche. I don't know if they're Bavarian or not. They're German. And Brumos was the name of the dealership that was brought out here in Florida. And Peter Gregg, known as Peter Perfect, was the guy behind Brumos. And Brumos was this cool white car with that sort of off blue and sort of red, orange red, interesting shades of red and blue. And we're looking at a new Brumos Porsche Chris has pulled up, but you can find ones from the 70s, early 80s that are even more interesting. So it does kind of have the same vibe as Brumos, although everyone connects it to M. And then Peter Gregg, who I'd talked about on this show before, famously was such a winning, dominant driver of the 70s and 80s that he was labeled Peter Perfect. He just won a huge amount of races. Maybe he won the 24 Hours of Daytona 3 or 4 times or something. And he was driving in France before Le Mans, and probably in, I don't know, 80, 82, 83 or something like that. He's driving with he won the 24 Hours of Daytona 4 times, which was pretty dominant. And he was driving with that Frank Stella, the artist who made the BMW art car, like Andy Warhol did an art car with BMW, and so now it goes from Brumos to BMW, and that Frank Stella is still alive. Actually, made the M1 Pro car Frank Stella art car at Peter Gregg's request. And they got in a car accident, a road-going accident, just, on the highway kind of Peter Gregg got the worst of it, and he bonked his head, and he had like double vision, and he couldn't run Le Mans, and he was having difficulty, and all of a sudden he slowed down just a tick, and he wasn't winning like he was, and when he was 40, he killed himself. Just went to like a beach in Florida and just put a bullet in his head. It's kind of crazy. That guy's story, I always think about that guy. It's just a crazy story. He was, good looking, race car driver, winning everything, had this big Brumos. Brumos was a really dominant Porsche racing team in the 70s and the 80s. It's, big dealership and everything. And just couldn't win like he used to win. He was so used to winning, and he just killed himself.
Wow.
Yeah. Where's a Brumos?
Reminds me of.
Yeah. Find me a Brumos 935. That'll probably do it for you. Anyway.
Reminding me of a question in the book about what you would do a deep dive podcast on. This could be a second one, but you had answered that it was going to be the James Dean story. But you'll get to read about that in the book.
Yeah.
So there's somebody named Steve who perhaps you've met before. Says, "Come on by the Bunny Museum. We have moved and are 10 times bigger." Says Steve, the husband. Have you visited the Bunny Museum?
I have.
Was a man. You have not.
I have, Michael. I have. The Bunny Museum. Was there a Brumos 935?
Yeah, it's just the Facebook viewers can't see it, so that's why
Mike wants to see it. God damn it!
I don't even know if Mike can't see it either. That's what
I want to see it. Oh yeah, look at that Brumos. Oh yeah, K3. That's a twin turbo. Yeah. All right. Anyway, gotta get the shit. People can't see it, Chris. So let's not waste time.
Sorry.
The Bunny Museum. I was doing a bit for Too Late or some show that I was doing, and I would go out during the day and shoot some roll-in pieces, and went and talked to a guy, had a big Charlie's Angels, fan with the lunch pails and the action figures and everything. And the Bunny Museum was like in Altadena, California, or deeper that direction. California, like Arcadia or something like that. And it was just this kooky husband-wife team that had, just a regular, sort of ranch style 1,200 square foot house. And inside of it was 2,000 ceramic bunnies and, a cage in the back with some bunnies, and it was just, bunny throw pillow. I mean, the thing about the whatever museum, it'd be like if I said, I have a office-sized business trash can museum. And then you went, oh, what's this about? And then you opened my door, and it was just filled with trash cans. And then you'd go, oh, yeah. What was I expecting? You know what I mean? That's kind of what the Bunny Museum is. It's just a house with crazy people in it, filled with stuffed, bunnies and bunny slippers and a bunny coffee mug and bunny shit. It's exactly what you think, but it's a little sadder when you get there.
Yeah, it's a fine line between OCD and museum curator.
Right.
And it occurs to me, too, a pretty good rich man, poor man, your house is a museum.
Yes. It's also essentially, there's a very fine line, because if you just collect everything, you're a hoarder. But if you collect hippopotamuses, then you're some curator of your museum. But you're still just a hoarder. You picked one lane. You hoard.
You're a narrow-minded hoarder.
You hoard one thing. You're a hoarder who lacks range.
You're a lazy hoarder.
Yes. Or a focused hoarder. I don't know, yeah, but you essentially hoard one thing. That whether this particular thing, it's Charlie's Angels junk filling up your West Side apartment, or bunny shit in your Arcadia 1,200 square foot house, but you're focused hoarder. And hoarders,
message to hoarders.
hoarders are as low as we have on the food chain. You know, they're right next to pedophile is what we have as a society. But yet, the focused hoarders are celebrated.
Deep.
I hoard Paul Newman race cars.
Well, you know what you could hoard if you went to premiercollectibles.com/everything. You could order some. You could order
nice.
Some. Yeah, thank you. Some signed copies of Adam's new book, which comes out next week.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, you know, I've been around you long enough to get semi-professional here. So, Abigail from Texas doesn't know you very well because she asks, how does your faith impact the way you live and work?
Well, I don't have a traditional faith, but I do have a kind of faith in move forward, time passes quickly, things get done. And that's kind of my faith, you know, writing a book, recording an audiobook. I'm always so philosophically interested with the process of the audiobook, for instance. It's always a huge pile of papers, 250, 300, whatever it is. It seems so monumental. You know, you break it down into these 30-page sessions. Dawson and I did 3.5 pages the other day just because we had 25 minutes in between. I finished my show. Jesse Waters' van was across the street for a hit. I had like 25 minutes before getting into makeup and getting seated in the van. And I was like, let's knock off 5 pages. I'm not good enough, so we got to like 3.5, but that's the process. That is the process right there, man. And it's the most important process in life. The most important process in life is, hey, Mike, we should write another book. What shall we make this book about? To here we are, and I'm signing book plates. And then repeat that process and do it with many endeavors. You know, it doesn't all have to be work related. For instance, it can be a treehouse, but for your kids or whatever, going to Greece and hiking, whatever that thing is. Like, hey, I have an idea. I'd like to ride a zip line in Maui. Oh, okay. 2 on the zip line in Maui, to the cable snapping and you falling to your death. Beginning, middle, end.
Sure. Big end. Yeah.
Big end.
No, it is a problem. We've got 251 pages in this book. That's a hell of a lot of work, and that's a hell of a lot of reading for you. And I've been listening to the audiobook that Dawson's producing exquisitely, and it's great. So if you want to get that version of it, you can get that too. And if you want to get that and the regular book, get both.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Have one in the car and have one on the shelf.
Yeah.
So Mackenzie from Portland wonders, what does an ideal day look like for you?
I've had a few of these lately, just a few, but honestly, for me, I kind of I have 3. There's 3. There's one. They all involve nothing to do that day, but it doesn't mean I'm not getting out of my bathrobe. It just means there's no commitments. There's no time. There's no you must be here by then kind of thing. It'll inevitably or should inevitably involve a long walk of some kind and a nice conversation with someone I enjoy talking to on the phone or in person on the walk. It'll involve going out for like a steak and a martini at the end of that day. And for me, and you know, maybe you get a little bit older and you get a little bit nostalgic or something. I have found myself, if I do have that day, sitting alone in my warehouse with the Sonos on, put on the 80s channel and crack an IPA, put it in a frosty mug, and it just sort of walk around and just sort of look at the cars, and I kind of think about the history of a lot of them and where they've been. I see the names on the sides of the car and go, is that guy? You know, Paul Newman, he's not here anymore, and Ralph Stumlin, he died in 1983 at Riverside in a car like this car. And then I see, oh, there's Dick Barber's name. Oh, he's still alive. He's in Florida. Funny guy, you know, and I'll kind of putz around a little and I'll look at some plaque on the wall or something, or some old picture of, you know, me and Hugh Hefner from the Playboy Mansion from the KLSX days that's up on the wall, and just kind of nurse my beer and like look at it and listen to Kaja Gugu in the background. And just, you know, 2 hours goes by in like a just a blink of an eye. And I'll have these little like moments, and sometimes I'll go and I'll pull like one of the books for one of the old cars, and I'll go, oh yeah, Newman at Lime Rock in 1987. He put the car on pole position, but didn't finish the race because there was a mechanical issue or something like that. And I'll go, he was probably disappointed that he put the car on pole and then something broke on the car. And I'll just sort of look at the old pictures and stuff. And it's just this weird kind of have a beer, walk around, weird music that I don't even necessarily even like. It just kind of reminds me of this other time period, and just sort of reminisce with no agenda or schedule.
And your kids, of course, your kids.
Oh yeah, I love the kids. That's my number one role.
It goes without saying. Yeah.
No, the reality with the kids is I would be more than happy to bring the kids with me. They wouldn't take 8 minutes of that shit. They would be like, I'm bored, I want to go. You know, like Natalia wouldn't go there in the first place, and Sonny, after being in the shop for 10 minutes, would announce that he wants to walk to Baskin Robbins, and he'll be back in an hour. So that's how that would play out.
So Meredith in Arkansas wants to know, in social circles, how do you get along with friends who think differently than you?
Well, I think most people think differently than me. I guess she's talking about politically, but I feel like, well, I shouldn't say most socially, but a fair amount do politically, for sure. You know, you focus on why you're friends with the person. You're not friends over. I'm not friends with somebody. We didn't meet because I hated Nancy Pelosi and he loved Nancy Pelosi, and we met at some sort of encounter group or something. We were friends because we like to laugh. We, you know, have a sense of humor. We're both smart, sort of appreciate each other's takes and sense of humor, and you know, we love watching football, and we love Woody Allen movies, you know, and we love going out to eat, and you know, and the aforementioned steak and the martini. That the stuff you disagree with or about is pretty small compared to what brought you together. So, you know, I tend to just think about that. You know, I had dinner the other day with Jimmy and Dr. Drew and Mark Garagos, and Danny Two Sheets was there, and it was fresh off of Jimmy's interview with Biden. And, you know, Jimmy's on one side and Dr. Drew's on the other side, and Danny Two Sheets is on the other side, and I'm on the other side, and like Mark Garagos is circling around the middle somewhere, darting from side to side, and we all just had drinks and ate. You know, we enjoyed ourselves. I don't know. I think people are overcomplicating a lot of this shit. You know, I don't like. I like the Rams. I'm not a big, I like the Rams. I invite, I'm trying to kind of think of the crew that comes over to watch football on a Sunday. You got Ed, he's big Tennessee Titans guy. You got, Damashek occasionally. He's big Steelers guy. He doesn't like to talk about it, but if you give him a couple of beers, you'll get it out of him. There's Nick Santora's a Giants guy. Kevin Hench, Patriots guy. We have, Cousin Sal's a Cowboys guy, inexplicably. Brad is a Giants guy. I'm the only Rams guy, as far as I can tell, in this entire equation. So I'm hosting everyone to come over and drink my beers and eat my chips. And there's only one Rams fan in the group, and that's me, and that's fine. I mean, we don't have to try to figure out who's better through some sort of verbal jousting match. It's just the Rams are playing and your team's playing, and we'll hang out.
Because you haven't decided that Cowboy fans or Steeler fans are evil for being
yes, they're not
there, and so you don't have to try to kill them.
Yes, all Pittsburgh fans are racist and hate women and misogynist and whatever. Yes, when you remove that aspect of it, then you're just football fans and you can root for your team.
Right. Okay, getting close to the end here, so a couple more. What is the hardest lesson? Oh, sorry, Cody from Chicago. What's been the hardest lesson but became the most useful tool in your life?
I'd say the most useful tool is probably the crescent wrench, because it's adjustable. You could do 10 millimeter or 5/8, just depending on the slide of the adjustment wheel. The best lesson, the cruelest lesson, I guess sometimes I had a therapist tell me once a long time ago, just sometimes the answer is no, and that's that. There's just no working around it, no figuring it out, no solving it. It's just no is the answer. And so while most people think it's a virtue to not take no for an answer, I will frequently take no for an answer and move on. So it's also kind of knowing when to pack it up and leave when you hear no, or where to go. So we had our last book we wrote. I was told no by a couple of publishers, New York, Manhattan publisher types, said no. And when the Post Hill folks, I think the Post Hill folks, somebody from Post Hill or something, I can't remember how it went down, but we had a guest and he was an author and he wrote a motivational book. Was it Coach Mike?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Something sounds right and a little bit wrong at the same time, but I trust you on these things, Coach Mike. So I said, we were leaving. He was like, "You're an interesting guy. Why don't you write a book?" I was like, "Well, we have no luck, And then I said, "Who's your publisher?" And they said, Post Hill. And I said, I could talk to those guys and see if they wanted to whatever. And then here we are. So the point is sometimes no means turn the page and move on. And sometimes no means go find somebody else so you can make a page to turn.
Wow.
Powerful.
That's awesome. Yeah, That is. So there's a question that I thought would be fun for the audience to hear because it's a question that was teed up for the book that we didn't answer because of the context. We actually got a question from Alec Baldwin at one point, but decided given what was going on that might not be the best to answer it at that time. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you hate everyone and everything. What do you do? Seemed like probably not the best time to answer that question for Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah. I I think, my feeling is, well, I'll liken it to COVID. If you're in a bad way, steer clear if you can of people, sort of avoid people. They're going to get fragged. You know what I mean? If you just wake up and you're in really shit mood and try not to spend too much time in the kitchen talking to whomever, because something's coming out of you at them at some point. It's hard to completely keep that under wraps. So I would say kind of walk it off. I would say get up and hit the road. Like just go walk for 45 minutes and, get yourself cleared out and come back. I don't think, it's kind of like being drunk alone versus drunk at a party. You know what I mean? You can be drunk alone and no harm, no foul, or you can get drunk at a party and go around and kind of make an ass of yourself, So maybe look at being in a really shit mood, like being really hammered, and maybe that plan is just to go in the office and shut the door and not have people tell you a bunch of stories the next day about how wrecked you were or what a douche you were. You know what I mean? Now, if we were going to put it in
one last,
if that was Baldwin's question, we're going to put it in the book. We would have put together a more interesting, fascinating, articulate, interesting, cogent, and humorous answer than that. Go ahead.
So, Hannah from Arizona, what's your biggest takeaway from writing this book?
Besides the advance, I would say, it's one more thing that you could do that I didn't really know I could do or we could do before we did it. The notion of, you go, let's write another book. And then you go, geez, what can't I complain about, or what can I complain about that I haven't already in so many pages of books? By the time we get to this book, we're, 1,800 pages worth of complaining. What subject couldn't I have addressed, and what topic didn't we hit 5 times already? And then Mike said, what if we took questions from people and kind of had them drive the content? And then, I kind of remember where I was. I think I was walking around my neighborhood and Mike brought it up. And I was like, I was either in my car driving in my neighborhood or I was walking through my neighborhood. I kind of remember where I was. And I went, questions from the audience, submitted questions and celebrity questions, and I went, that's interesting. I wonder if I could pull that off. Like, I wonder if we could pull that off. How would that be? How entertaining, funny, provocative? How would this be a good book? And so what I get from these different experiences is like, I know I could make a cheese omelet, but I'm not sure that I could make pheasant under glass, and, making another cheese omelet is fine, but you don't really have that same sense of accomplishment than when you go, I'm going to make this that I've never even contemplated making before. And you bite into it and it's pretty damn good. That's kind of that takeaway. That's that sense of accomplishment.
Excellent. Well, that kind of brings us to a close, and you're absolutely right. This book is my analogy for it is it's home run derby. It's just good fat pitches down the middle and seeing how many you can hit out of the park. And I think you did that to kiss your ass a little bit, and I think the fans will really enjoy it. Those who are longtime fans and those who are newer to you. So again, for those streaming right now, premiercollectibles.com/everything to get your autographed copy. And if you're hearing this on the podcast afterwards, go to adamcarolla.com, click the banner, and get it through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, through IndieBound if you want to go through a more independent route. But just get the book, get it early, and throw to Adam to say goodbye.
Well, once again, all hail the Mikes, really. I mean, Mike August really came through with the writing of this book. And then, of course...
He did?
Oh, sorry. Mike Lynch. I was reading the drop thing. Mike Lynch with the writing, and then Mike Dawson with the recording and engineering of the audiobook was just couldn't have done it without you. And you can go to adamcarolla.com and click on the banner and pre-order it. This Friday and Saturday, going to be in Springfield doing stand-up and live pods there. That's July 15th and 16th. And you just go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows coming up and pre-order that book because it just helps. And until next time, this is Adam Carolla for Mike Lynch saying mahalo. You put the hook in the eye of the minnow, and then it'll be like live bass. Like I'm not putting a hook into the eye of one of God's creatures. Yeah. And then when you get the fish on, you have to hit it with the bat.
Yeah,
you hit it with the bat, and then later we'll gut it. You know, and I'm like, let's go to the seafood market and let's see what halibut costs.